Drew Tanaka kind of sucks, but there is something about her as a character that has kind of fascinated me in many ways. So today I want to talk about Drew Tanaka and how she represents the toxic side of Aphrodite and how that's a good thing. Now, Drew Tanaka is a character that we are introduced to in The Lost Hero, the first story in the Heroes of Olympus series, and I think she appears randomly again at some point during the series, but that's the main place that we see her, and I think she's referenced randomly again at some point during the series. But Drew is, at that point, the leader of the Aphrodite cabin, but she's a bit of a tyrannical leader, shall we say. She's not exactly someone who respects others, and she's someone who has charm speak that she uses to her advantage to manipulate people to do what she wants. And, you know, manipulation, tyrannical leaders, not exactly a good thing. But what fascinates me about Drew's character is the fact that this is a different side to Aphrodite that we've seen, or at least the Aphrodite children. But we know that there are two very different sides to Aphrodite. There is the love, beauty, and, you know, bringing love to the world side of Aphrodite. And then we've got the Aphrodite who helped start the Trojan War. The vindictive, the toxic, the meddling side of love and Aphrodite, and beauty as well alongside it. There are two different sides that you can find in love and beauty, the good and the bad. And what I find interesting about that is that I think, in a sense, in this series, Piper and Selina and the other Aphrodite characters that we've been introduced to are the more good side of Aphrodite, whereas Drew is representing the more darker side of Aphrodite's, you know, traits. She is the toxic side, the vindictive side, but that is fascinating. The toxic side of love is something that I've always, well, not necessarily found interesting, but there's something about it that I always, you know, it's always interesting to see dived into in a series like this, especially a kids series. But seeing Drew as someone who kind of restarted this tradition in the Aphrodite cabin of they find themselves a partner to get together with, have that partner fall in love with them, and then break their heart. That is a huge tradition within the cabin, which seemed to not have really been a thing before, and is something that Drew herself brought back in, showing this toxic side of romantic love. And I think that says a lot that, you know, this is a thing that Drew brought in. It's something that she finds interest in. And we even see that Aphrodite has done this a lot throughout history. Trojan War is literally one example of that. And to see that personified in Drew, a young girl who is the head of the cabin in Aphrodite, who we've not been introduced to before, but looks down on Selina, a character who, in a sense, wasn't a traitor, but was someone who spied on the other side. I'm doing a video on this, by the way, because it was not all Selina's fault. Stay tuned for that video. But worked to try and save things in the end by sacrificing herself for love, for the love of her boyfriend Charlie, for the love of her camp, for the love of Olympus, although maybe not as much that last one, more for Charlie and her family. But Drew looks down on her for that. She sees her as a traitor. She sees her as someone who turned her back on the true traditions of Aphrodite. I think that shows the two different sides of the coin. Selina, though yes, she was a spy, is someone who saw love as the ultimate goal. Drew sees heartbreak as the ultimate goal. That is the thing that you can find more fun and pleasure within, because that is something that is enjoyable for her, and is enjoyable for that darker side of Aphrodite, because she does this a lot. So to see a character who is openly interested in this toxic side of love, romance, and even femininity in some way, in that she punishes people for not fitting her own image of beauty. I don't know, it stood out to me a lot, because yes, Drew kind of sucks as a person, but either way, to see this kind of side of character, and though unfortunately she does get this whole comeuppance situation and then she basically disappears from the series, seeing this other side of Aphrodite I truly enjoyed seeing it. The only thing that I wish had been done is that it wasn't as demonized as it should have, is that it shouldn't have been as demonized as it was in this series. Piper challenges her, she becomes the head of the cabin, which still doesn't make sense because she's only been there 3 days, but besides the point. But toxic love and toxic romances do exist. To pretend they don't is just as bad, really. Drew being this personification of the negative side of love, romance, relationships within family or romantic sides is something that is true to real life. Selina, in a sense, did kind of contribute to that by being, in a sense, this negative side of love for others, because, you know, she did betray people in some way, but still she brought it back in the end. But by pretending that Selina hadn't done that, which is a lot of what the camp did do, same with Luke, for example, is to forget what led to her sacrifice. By pretending that she didn't spy in the past, in a sense undoes the weight of her sacrifice, because her sacrifice was because of what she had been doing before. She made this sacrifice to make up for what she had done. To pretend she hadn't done anything to lead to this undercuts that weight. And so Drew, yes, does suck as a person, but her recognising and calling Selina a traitor, which admittedly is a strong word, a spy, someone who, you know, did turn her back on them for a time, is important to recognise. And so is the existence of toxic romance and toxic relationships. Pretending that Aphrodite isn't about toxicity and just is about love, beauty and kindness is disingenuous to mythology as a whole, to Aphrodite's own history and to the real world. Piper has her heart is in the right place, but nothing is all sunshine and roses. And that is exactly what true Tanaka represents, which is why I find her to be a fascinating character. But what do you think? What do you think about Drew Tanaka as a character and her, in a sense, representation of the toxic side of Aphrodite? You know, like I said, I find it fascinating, but I want to hear what you think. So let me know in the comment section down below your thoughts on Drew Tanaka. Well, as always, thank you so much for watching this video. I truly do appreciate it. In the description box down below, you'll find the links to all of my social media, my Patreon, where if you could support me financially, that is a place to do so I can keep bringing more videos to all of you. But if you can't support me financially, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. I appreciate it all the same. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.